Welcome to SunnySpeaks, here again with another review for you, and you. And today, I am going to talk about Mickey 17, directed by Bong Joon Ho, and starring Robert Pattinson, Naomi Ackie, Mark Ruffalo, and many more. After signing up to be an expendable during a human expedition to a new planet, basically being a human test subject that is used to test viruses, disease, harmful life forms, and atmospheres for humankind, Mickey, played by Pattinson, finds himself questioning his choice and superiors after surviving near death, only to realize he's already been replaced with his 18th copy. To me, this movie was awesome, but I understand why people might not like it, especially the second half of this film. Starting off with Robert Pattinson, he is incredible in this movie. The trailer makes it seem like he's playing a bunch of different characters, and I think that's kind of an exaggeration, but his character work in this is really good. Mickey 17 is very different from other characters I've seen him play before. From his vocal register to mannerisms, being more awkward and submissive, you could argue a lot of times even aloof, but then juxtaposing that with Mickey 18, who is brash and bold and charismatic and cold. When he feels disrespected, he is quick to respond with violence. The dynamic between 17 and 18 not only looks seamless visually, but creates a cool dynamic in the dialogue that's fun and entertaining. One criticism towards this though is that I wish that the characters, when it comes to them connecting on a more emotional level, I wish that was handled a little bit better. I think that there are certain moments by the end of the film that feel more forced than natural and surprising because they didn't build the emotion, at least in the way that I would have appreciated, or at least developed it further throughout the movie. Despite their differences, one of the things Mickey 17 and 18 both love is Nasha, played by Naomi Ackie. I like seeing Naomi Ackie on screen. She can go from being very likable to very untrustworthy with just a look. Watching her character Nasha in this film, I couldn't tell what side she was on, and I really enjoyed that ambiguity in the middle of the story. Nasha is a badass soldier, officer, firefighter, basically a human Swiss Army knife, a part of the human expedition to Niflheim, the planet that they're going to, who falls in love with Mickey. Their dynamic was both believable and entertaining. I really liked what these characters brought out of each other, especially because there are many scenes where they aren't together and you see them being very different. Mickey again being subdued and more quiet, but when he's around her, I think he brings out a more wackier and fun side, and Nasha being a hardened and skeptical soldier, but then with him being again fun and loving and very sexually curious. I think they both are. Naomi Ackie was awesome in this movie, and to me, I think she's really the heart of this film. I'm just glad to see her in more and more things moving forward. She's awesome. Mark Ruffalo as Kenneth Marshall, the big bad politician heading this expedition, is so over the top, so extra, so ridiculous, and I loved all of it. For the most part, I need Mark Ruffalo to stop being Hulk and to play bad guys for the rest of his life, please. I don't know how he does this with roles like this and in Poor Things, but he can make the most despicable and evil characters be so hard to look away from. His performance in this is so fun, and I just really enjoyed this character throughout. His connection with Toni Collette, who plays his wife, I think they have such an interesting dynamic. She lobs up so many of his one-liners, and he instantly dunks it on some unsuspecting employee or a very suspecting employee, and I really liked that. Kenneth Marshall is a pompous asshole with a wife played by Toni Collette, who assists him in all his evil doings in the name of God and in the pursuit of a better future for humanity, as long as he is remembered in history. I love the detail that no matter how horrible the situation is on the ship or on Niflheim, he always wants to be filmed because he thinks everything he's doing is monumental. I loved that little detail. I loved to hate the character, and he was very funny to me. Not as funny as him in Poor Things, but still hilarious. Before getting to the effects and criticisms I have for this movie, let's talk about some side characters that I really enjoyed, because I was really surprised how many side characters I really found so engaging and enjoyable. Yeun as Timo, Mickey's best friend, and really the reason why he isn't expendable now, is so good at at being an asshole. But he's so good at being an asshole, but it's seeming believable. He plays every emotion of the character like it's filtered through fear, even when he's boasting. And I liked that small detail that's between the lines of the dialogue. Another asshole for sure. Patsy Ferran as Dorothy was one of the sleepers in this movie I didn't expect to love as a character. I've never seen this actress before in anything, I believe, so hopefully this is the first of many introductions. But Dorothy was so cool to me. Being one of the only few scientists that actually looked at Mickey as a person rather than something to die after being used up. And seeing her grow throughout the runtime I thought was really cool. Throughout the whole thing, I don't think that she's really with everything going on, but doesn't have the power. But over time and understanding the shifts in power dynamics on the ship, you start to see her grow more and more and just be a really cool side character that I really appreciated personally. All right, now let's talk about the effects. The special effects in this movie are great for the most part. I described this movie to a friend as Dune but fun, and even though I was joking, I do feel that in a way. This movie has a very interesting world that I would like to see explored even more. The creepers, coined by Marshall, are neatly designed natives to the planet Niflheim. I really liked the depth they gave these aliens, even though it was spoiled in the trailer and it is pretty cliche. The way their bodies move is fascinating to me too. And during a battle scene, I thought their strategy during conflict was very alien and creative. And I liked the way they spoke as well. I thought that was really cool. And the translation that Dorothy brings, I liked all of that. Everything that had to do with the creepers I thought was really well done, and they always looked great as well. The main flaws I have with this movie is the third act and the book to movie curse. The third act in this movie, while having interesting concepts and cool action moments, it does feel contrived at times and does rush to the finish line rather than getting you there in a way that feels natural to how the story was progressing before. But even in saying that, I do think that the movie nods at things in the beginning that are then paid off in the end, and I do appreciate that sort of writing. The book to movie curse to me is when you're watching a movie and you can tell that this movie is based on a book. And I think that really shows in the third act of this movie when things like the council come in, where that's something that's talked about maybe once or twice, but isn't really allowed to be fleshed out because of the visual experience that you are experiencing. Well, with a book, you can go run off in a whole paragraph about whatever world you're building as an author. It's a difficult thing to transition a book to a movie, and even it being Mickey 7 in the book to Mickey 17, there is a emphasis on the visual aspect of what this experience will be rather than the dialogue heavy parts. And I do appreciate what the movie does and the world that it is inhabiting, the way that it executes on its world with the CG and with the world building of the script. But there are many things that I do feel like are not fully fleshed out like how I would have liked, and things that actually matter in the end of the film. Like even certain mutinies and things going on in the ship that could have been talked about a little bit more, but just again were not. A close friend of mine talked about how he isn't really a big fan of narration, and this movie in the beginning does have a lot of narration that I thought was kind of unnecessary. It goes back and forth in time, and I do think that it would have been cool to just start at the starting point for Mickey and just experienced how he got to the point where he is now going to be an expendable. I understand also just getting to the point, but I would have liked to see the story more natural rather than the narration, even though Robert Pattinson does an incredible job with the narration. I love, again, the vocal register he has, and the delivery he has throughout the narration is really good. And it actually ends, I think, the beginning or the middle of the second act. Overall, Mickey 17 did not disappoint me, and I'm really glad to say that. This is one of my, if not my most anticipated movie this year, and I had a lot of fun. I loved this movie a lot. Not a flawless movie, maybe a little too long and lacking depth in certain areas, but what the movie chooses to focus on, I think it executes that very greatly. I would give this movie a partly sunny rating. This movie also has a lot of politically charged characters like Kenneth, Marshall, and other things going on in the world that this story inhabits, and a lot of things do come off very allegorical to politicians today in our country. I don't particularly care about that. I didn't feel positively or negatively about that, but I am saying that for if that's something you just don't want to see or you don't care about, or something that maybe even excites you further, just wanted to bring that up. I felt nothing towards it though. This has been my review of Mickey 17. Let me know what you think in the comments down below if you have seen it, because perspective is key. And if you haven't seen it, let me know if this review makes you want to go see the movie or not. like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I'll be back again, and peace.